Hi, welcome to another Expert Insights discussion. Today we're joined by Tristan Hayward, co-founder of 3 and 6. In this interview, Tris discusses the evolution of search technology. He outlines the challenges and opportunities hoteliers face in a landscape dominated by Google and the potential effects of Google's SGE, Search Generative Experience, on the industry. And he emphasizes the importance of understanding these changes to provide better search experiences for users and the need for hotels to improve SEO to stay competitive. Really hope you enjoy the conversation. So before we dive into the topic, could you please just position 3 and 6, what you are as an organization, who you guys are, what your speciality is, because that will help explain why we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. So over to you.
No problem. Thank you. And thanks, Trevor, for having us on. I really do appreciate it. 3 and 6, we're a full service digital marketing agency. So if there is anything to do with a hotel's direct website, we're involved with it, whether that's paid search, social media, organic paid social media, SEO, or even building the website itself through to branding. And all of the marketing aspects that would go around that website, we're involved with it. But because of the nature of the digital industry and the way that the world is going, we've also heavily specialized into AI. That includes internal tools that we use to improve our marketing services, right the way through to some free tools that we've actually created and put on our website that use sort of generative large language models, AI, various different things as well. So.
Perfect. Excellent. So, as you say, very much at the forefront of what is going on with.
So.
Yeah, we all know about ChatGPT, OpenAI, and Google, and all the changes, and that's really what we're looking to dive into here. We're going to focus predominantly. For the purpose of this conversation, because hopefully we can bring you on again in the future to talk about other developments. But this one, we really want to look into SGE, another lovely acronym from Google, Search Generative Experience. It's been written about, there's plenty of articles out there, but it just seems sensible to bring somebody on who's at the coalface, who's having to anticipate, can see what is going, having to anticipate what is going to happen, and more importantly to our audience, how that is going to impact hoteliers and what they need to be thinking about. So let's start off with a really easy, open question. SGE, what actually is it to start with?
I thought you were going to ask an easy question. Search Generative Experience. So at the moment, it's very much it's still very much being trialed. So we don't know what it's going to be in the future, but we've kind of got an idea of the way that it's heading.
Okay.
Essentially, it's search engines, specifically Google, in this case, using AI to predict answers and to give answers back in a much more efficient way for what you're searching for when you go to the search engine. Okay. So if you think of how Google operates right now, you go and you type in a search term, it presents a list of websites to you, ranked in order that it thinks is closest to matching what you're looking for, with some ads at the top there where it makes its 9 billion a quarter, or however much money it is that Google makes. The idea with SGE is that the AI tool that Google has is going to go away, scour your website or everybody's website, and present the answer back to you on the search result page in a much more concise manner, rather than saying, go and look at this website or this website or this website from the list.
All right. That makes sense. So it's trying to do, I guess, what search was, which is, I need an answer to this question, provide me an answer. It's they're going out, scanning all the websites, all the information that is out there, and then pooling all of that together, and then using AI to take that information and come up with the answer to your question. Is that, have I understood that in broad terms
Yeah,
correctly?
so the AI is interpreting the data
Yep.
and understanding it to give you a better search experience, to give you a
Mm-hmm.
better answer and give you a better result than having to go through. It's very similar to what in the industry we call sort of position zero. That's almost like a stepping stone, in my opinion. This is in
Okay.
any case. So sometimes you will see when you type in, specifically if you type in a question into Google right now,
Mm-hmm.
it'll come up with a snippet off a website
Yep.
at the very top position.
Yep.
So we're calling that position zero because it's ahead of
I've
the
got
list.
you. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost like from an SEO point of view, that's the SEO mecca. That's the
Yeah.
goal where
If
you
you
want
can,
to
if you
get
can
to.
be that bit, right?
Yeah, if you can get a position zero that's answering a highly sought after question in
Yep.
your industry that's relevant, it's perfect. And the
Super.
traffic that it drives to your website is very, very strong, very good.
Well, I'm going to pick up on that last point because I want to ask you about what are the potential implications, and to take what you said about how this will work and your last statement you just made there about driving traffic to the website. If Google is answering and providing you the answer to the question, then why would you go to the website?
Well, that is the $1 million question here,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately, I mean, Google for a long time, they've not really made any secret of it, and there's been governments that have actually been challenging them the way that Google works, in that Google wants to keep people on Google, and
Yep.
it doesn't actually want you to go to the other websites, because if you keep you on Google, you're more engaged, you'll use Google products,
Yep.
many of which are monetized, and they're
Payable.
making a tremendous amount of money from. So, almost think of Google as a website, and they want to keep you and own you and have it there.
Yep.
And because they're the gateway that everybody uses, or the vast majority of the world uses, then they've got that power. They've got that control. So SGE is a conundrum. It is a problem. Now, it's not going to be entirely a problem if you think of how the multitude of ways that people use the internet.
Mm-hmm.
When you're just talking about information,
Yep.
then yes, there could potentially be a blocker there. There could potentially be a problem if Google's giving more information at a much earlier point.
Yeah.
There's an argument that says, well, that's what the user wants, so I understand why they're doing it. But in terms of anything else that you do on the internet, such as making a purchase, booking a hotel room, you're not going to be able to do that at the individual hotel through Google SGE alone. There'd have to be another Google product that you would use, and then there's the danger.
Let's kind of narrow this down a little bit then and look at two sides of the coin when it comes to, from a hotelier's point of view, I guess, and again, I'm generalizing here, but apart from a bit of brand awareness, it's probably trying to drive effort to get people to come to the website to look at potentially booking with them. That's what they're trying to do, is drive traffic in that way. So we know that the two sides of the coin is, one, direct bookings, two, coming through other channels. Let's keep it simple and talk about OTAs.
Yeah.
Do we see SGE potentially, and we're hypothesizing because we don't know, do we see SGE potentially having an impact positively or negatively in favor or not of the OTAs?
That's actually quite a difficult question to answer. Because if you're obviously looking at LinkedIn or other articles that have been written about this, lots of people have been surmising about this, and people have, in the early stages of AI, have been very much on the in two camps. One, it's going to destroy OTAs, and then others are saying, actually no, the OTAs are really going to benefit from this. I'm probably more in the camp that's slightly more towards the OTAs benefiting from this, rather than them ultimately being destroyed, just through AI in general, not necessarily Search Generative Experience. But Search Generative Experience is going to, I think, it's got the potential to be involved much further up the consideration chain when somebody's looking to book a holiday or a business trip or whatever it's going to be. Because if SGE is pulling in information in a smart and an intelligent way, and it's collating all of that, plus with the way that we know that AIs can actually be customized to your own personal individual likes, wants, needs, intents, whatever it would be, that interaction of the dreaming phase through to the consideration phase could all largely be done away from other people's websites.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, so the impact there, so it's kind of industry wide here. Now, the OTAs, the one thing that the OTAs offer as a website that an individual hotel website doesn't offer is choice.
Yep.
If I'm looking at a specific destination, I can see a ton of hotels in that destination. Whereas if I go to an individual hotel in that destination, I've just got that hotel.
Yeah.
So there is the potential impact there of what will SGE have and what will AI have on OTAs.
Yep.
But again, it falls back to that very final bit. Where does the person actually book? Where do they get their, digital credit card details out or their physical credit card details out and make that booking? Is it on the website with the OTAs, or is there going to be a Google product that kind of fits in there?
Yeah, I've got you. So if Google don't put a product in there at this moment, then someone will have to navigate away from Google to make a booking, and whether they go to an OTA to do that or whether they go to a direct hotel might depend on where they started from their search query, for instance. And I guess something that you mentioned early on when talking about it is how Google are very good at finding ways to monetize. So I assume through SGE, they're going to have this, here's the answer to your question. And then there will be some form of advertising, company advertising that can be acquired.
Certainly, if there is that ability in there, and Google has announced that they are trialing ads in SGE now.
Okay.
They've already announced that's something they're going to do, because obviously, whilst we're talking about SGE and this wonderful user experience, Google is still a business and a money-making machine. Their largest product right now is Google Ads. On the ads that appear on search. And as I alluded to before, it makes a tremendously large amount of money across every industry sector that you can possibly think of, every second, every minute of every day. So in order to bring SGE in at the moment, or when it was initially concept and trial and things like that, there's no monetization of it at this moment in time. I've heard various rumors, various speculation of different ways and different models in which they can actually monetize this. But they have, I think it was a few weeks ago now, they announced that they're actually going to trial ads. I've not seen any direct evidence of what that's going to look like or how that's going to work or how you're going to interact with it. But I would largely surmise it's going to be very similar to the experience that they've got now, because that is what they're good at. Google Ads, how they've built that machine, that platform, is, it's been around for, well, not years, it's been around for a couple of decades now. So it's very well established. So if we were to apply the logic of where we are now into SGE, I still think it's going to be the OTAs that are going to win out, simply because they've got the largest budgets and the furthest reach. And when as soon as you start putting money into it, they no matter what Google say about the auction, they're still huge factors in who wins.
No, that makes sense. That's what I kind of hypothesized when I was thinking about it in my head before I thought, all right, what are we going to talk about? Okay, so let's take this down to the other side of the coin, which is, okay, so I'm a hotelier. I'm sitting here, I'm reading this stuff, I'm probably not quite getting it, which is why they need to engage with a digital agency like yourselves to kind of advise them. But just how is it going to change for me? I'm sitting there as a GM or an owner of a property, and I'm reading about all of this. If it was to switch on overnight from what you've seen so far as it stands, what differences would I notice, and what would be the impact on me as a hotel?
So that's a really, really good question, because what the evidence that we're seeing in SGE, the results that are actually being brought back have, I won't say very different, but significantly different to the way that SEO and the current search engine optimization and the search results are actually displayed. So the results that you're getting from an SEO point of view right now in Google search doesn't necessarily translate over to SGE right now as we speak. So, you know, there's varying degrees of percentage difference depending on which reports that you read and what evidence that you've got going in. Plus, SGE is changing and evolving all of the time. So, for me, I think there's probably more of a fundamental issue here is that many hotels, in terms of their free listings, their organic listings, that they're getting on search results right now, are not very good. Hotels, in my experience and our experience as an agency, tend not to invest enough into SEO. There's almost like a short-termism view in the hotel world, which is what's the revenue, what's the ROAS that I've got this month, and then we'll worry about next month when we get to it. Or you know, the ones that are a little, you know, the ones that are more sophisticated are obviously looking that little bit further out. But to then go and find the money that it needs to actually go in and work on SEO results that you're not going to get real tangible benefits from for, you know, 3, 6, 9, maybe 12 months down the line. It's something that your future self will thank you for, but finding the investment and the time and effort to do now is actually quite difficult. So we did a review on this. I think it was last year, and we reviewed about 13,000 US hotel websites across 30 different resorts and destinations, and cities and various other places. We found that the average score for a SEO score for a website, a hotel website, was about 58%. So in essence, it was scoring a high school grade of F. It was failing. The whole hospitality industry as a general rule is failing from an SEO standpoint from what their websites do on a technical basis. If you are, that was the quantitative aspect. If you had any qualitative aspect to it, it dropped even further. So it's clear there is a problem. So right now, to go back to your very elaborate, long-winded way of answering your question, but it's kind of important to set this tone. So right now, when we as hoteliers and hotelier websites, we're not doing a very good job on search.
Just as it stands with the basic SEO searching. So forget the SGE for the moment, but just as it stands.
We're not doing very well on search in how Google you know, expects you to rank.
Gotcha.
So if we then translate this over to SGE, my fear is that there's going to be a lot of hotels, and I mean a tremendously large amount of hotels that are going to be miss out, that they're not going to be ready for this transition, because the way and the understanding that I have that the SGE works is that it's pulling information from a variety of different sources to verify whether the information it gives you back is actually correct. So it's not just reading your website, taking it for gospel and saying, oh, this website says this. It's actually going out and corroborating it from other websites in a similar way that SEO works now. So obviously you've got backlinks. If you've got websites with a lot of authority, backlinking to your article or your content on there, Google thinks, oh, that's good, I like it, I'll promote it. I think hoteliers do need to start looking, certainly from a PR point of view, a digital PR point of view, an SEO point of view, and what content they've got on their website. You need to start looking now, because it's going to come in.
Well, let's take those three separately then and maybe focus on them. So you spoke about content, SEO, digital PR. Okay. So let's start with content.
This is relevant for now as well as SGE, but it should be content that the user finds relevant and useful.
So I guess this is a good thing to start maybe diving into, as you say, because if we're doing it now, it's getting us ready and a better position for search as it is before we even get into the SGE scenario.
Absolutely, yeah, because the ability for you to just turn on and say, oh yeah, okay, now I need to fundamentally shift the way I'm doing. I'm going to be SGE ready when it comes out. That this is going to take time to build up, you know, because of that three-pronged approach, and there's more prongs to it, but you know what I mean? Those
three that we're focusing on.
So from a content point of view, it needs to be information that is relevant to the user at the time that they're looking. Most hotels that we came across in the review was essentially online brochures with a booking engine aspect to it. So it was very bottom of the funnel, very much, this is my hotel, this is the service I offer. If you like it, please book. there's very few hotels out there that actually get it right, and the ones that do see tremendous results from this.
Right.
Where they're actually looking at giving wider information,
Okay.
giving information, that consideration and that dreaming phase.
Yep.
So when I get to the destination and I'm actually sleeping in the bed in that hotel, what am I going to do when I'm awake?
Gotcha. Yeah. What is the point of actually being there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And because we know that people coming to a particular destination might be going there for a specific reason, but that might not be for the entire reason that they're there.
Yep.
It's a long time that they can stay in a particular location. So, like, what are they going to do? How are you going to help them with that? In some cases, there's spin-offs with that where you can say, well, you've got all of these things, but also we do this little thing over here, so please come and spend some money at our hotel with it at the same time. Mm-hmm. That's usually the spin that you tend to put on these SEO articles, and the content that's put out there. But when the content works and it's been thought through logically, it really does work. I've had a lot of people say to us that, oh, the OTAs just dominate an SEO. Well, yeah, they do. They do dominate on really high volume search terms, keywords that people are really searching for, high volume. But what it can't do, what an OTA can't do, is it can't go down to a granular level about unique aspects about your property that only you know about, or unique prospects and unique events and unique things going on in the area, that they're not going to go down to that level of granularity where a hotel can. So that's where we've seen a lot of success.
So I guess that comes back, to basic sales, about understanding what your USP are, whether it be your hotel, could be your team, could be the facilities, could be the city resort you're located in, could be the region, whatever it is. It's like, okay, think about it differently now.
Yes, absolutely. Again, because we know that people don't just come to a website and undertake the action that you want them to do straight away. They're going to come back multiple times. They're going to look at lots of different angles. They're going to not only looking at your website, they're looking at God knows how many other websites as well, from your comp set, from OTAs, from various other channels, from various other places. So the information that's consumed by a potential booker is huge. It genuinely is huge. Even if you're thinking in short term, like people booking things last minute, there's still an element of information that is consumed. It's just consumed a lot quicker. And perhaps not to the same depth, but there's still a lot of information that's consumed. So being able to answer key points and key questions within that consideration phase, or the entire journey, I think is vital from a hotel, because it paints a wider picture.
I guess people watching or listening to this could say, well, it's all well and good if you're in a lovely resort area, surrounding things to do, go hiking, whatever, go cycling, whatever it may be. But if I'm stuck in a city, and it may not, it could be within the UK, as you and I are, it could be, a regional city that's not a main tourist attraction. There's obviously a reason why hotels are built there. There's a reason people are coming there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like I say, if you speak to most operational staff in any property anywhere, they'll know that largely the types of people that are coming to their property and why they're coming to their property. And it could be a variety of reasons, but you could take a hotel in a less desirable city, shall we say, not necessarily a tier 1 city, but it's big for business. There's lots of business stays, or it's close to a conference center. Then the content that you put out there is what's going to attract a business person going to a conference. So the 5 best places for a breakfast meeting before your conference. That's things in the look of, one of which could be your own own on-site F&B.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's almost a counter argument to the point that it could work to OTA's advantage if they monetize it from an advertising point of view, but it could actually work to the individual hotel's advantage in terms of maybe being able to increase some direct bookings, because the OTA cannot compete for the first time with the hotel in terms of talking about the hotel itself and what the hotel value can bring and the content it can write about. So there is an advantageous position if you, as you say, if you get it right and build a strategy around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's one of the other stool legs that we were talking
You were
about.
saying digital PR, yeah?
Yeah, digital PR, because in both current SEO tactics and in search generative experience, as I mentioned earlier, Google needs to understand which piece of content that they're using has the most authority, or how authoritative is that piece of content, and is it the most relevant piece of content to display back to their user based on the search that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that they do this is through currently backlinking. So it's only one small piece of it.
Yeah.
It is only one. It used to be a lot bigger. If you're going back in the days, backlinking
with
was
all
huge.
the nefarious ways of doing it as well.
Lots of nefarious black hat ways of doing it. Yes, indeed. They're becoming less and less, prevalent right now. But they are still a component of SEO. So if you're putting out relevant content that your users are going to be interested in, the idea is that hopefully there are other websites out there, other organizations that would pick up on this and would be able and would share that content. We'll put links to it. We can do spin-offs. So that's the ultimate goal. But if you've got something like, some, I'm not going to name any of them, but like massive travel publications out there, and if they pick up on some of the things that you're doing and they've got backlinks, that's only going to help in the long term, both for current SEO, but especially moving into SGE and the way that they're going to, or it seems that they're quantifying information at the moment, then it definitely seems to make sense.
That comes back to what you were talking about earlier in terms of how the basis of SGE is around going out there, looking for the information, scanning across comparative pieces and trying to triangulate it and say, yes, this looks like the right appropriate answer. So if as a hotel, you're able to generate a piece of content that is in itself valuable, but then if you're able to get that picked up or maybe be a bit more proactive in reaching out and pitching it to various journals to see if it's a piece that they want to carry, then by having that backlink, Google would almost see, oh well, this in a way is triangulating and validating this as an interesting source of content, and so it views you more favorably and gives you a better chance of appearing somewhere, however they make it happen. Is that right? Did I understand that?
Yeah, as a broad generalization.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean there are lots of other factors as well that we considered. Like your own web page itself. How have you set that page up to talk to Google to say, these are the most important things I want you to take away when you look at this website. The important thing to remember there is you can write a brilliant piece of content, but if the web page that you put it on is subpar and it is not telling Google what that content's talking about, you're giving Google a conflict there. It's like, it's then got to work out what the main messages are that you're doing. So there's the on-page aspect of what you do. Make sure your website is technically up to date. There's the actual content itself, relevant and fresh content, because Google likes lots of content, new stuff being added, not just, hey, I've wrote a blog article this year. That's that great, that will get you some brief input, but Google wants to see more regular stuff. And then obviously there's the digital outreach to it, the PR aspect. Who's going to connect to that? How does that fit into the whole internet ecosystem?
That makes a lot of sense. So where does that third leg of our stool, SEO, fit into that discussion then? I think you touched on some of it through, but
that's kind of the on-page stuff.
That's
that's kind of the third aspect.
So just dig a bit deeper into that. You said it's important to do it. What you've touched on some of the elements, but just give us some headline pieces they should be thinking about.
So I often equate this, like, again, there's a very broad analogy, kind of boil this down to like a book. So if you've got a book, the book has a title, then there's chapters, and then there's content. Now, if you call the name of your book something completely different to the content, people are going to get really annoyed when they open up that book and looking for cooking recipes and find Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
It doesn't compute. It doesn't work out. And that's usually the biggest issue that we see in very, very simple terms. It's usually the biggest issue we see with web pages, that the displayed information that's wrapped around the actual content, it doesn't make sense towards what the content actually is.
Got you.
There's another component to this as well, is, are people actually searching for the information that you're looking for as well?
Yeah.
This is where people start to get hung up a little bit on it. Because when I mentioned before, people say, "Oh, you can't compete with the SEOs." So with the OTAs, sorry, can't compete with the OTAs. Well, yeah, if you're going for hotels in New York, then you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. Yeah, the search volume for that is vast, and everybody's trying to compete with that.
Yeah.
Our advice and our strategy is, well, unless you're going to throw bajillions of dollars at your SEO strategy, you're not going to be able to compete. So be smart. Look at the other things that you can do. So then it's, well, what's the actual topic that we want to talk about? So we'll find a pillar topic, and then we'll write various articles that all feed into that to make you an authority on that central pillarized topic that we're wanting to go for.
Gotcha.
And again, it's making sure that every one of those articles, every one of those pieces on the actual page that you create and that you put it on there is optimized as well it could be. So we're targeting this central topic, but these are the feeder keywords and search terms that people are looking for collectively. This is kind of what we're aiming to go for. Google's moving away from keywords, or has moved away from keywords specifically. It's more about content, it's more about intent, more about user experience. So that's what we're talking about when we're looking at the web page. So it's not just not just the the page title, the content, the paragraphs, all of that good stuff. It's also, what does this look like? Is this structured right? When we're looking at this web page, does it make sense? Does it flow? Does it just appear right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Where I look at my kids, so they're in their 20s. They kind of use Google, but they're mainly all over socials of some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Are we seeing? Is there a will this increase the trend? Is there maybe an argument that hotels should be engaging more in the social space and less reliant on search with these changes that are going on? Or is that still an argument that's out there? Or because they all have limited resources and limited time. So at some point in time, you've got to be as efficient as you can to get the biggest bang for your minute or your buck, whatever you're spending.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that's going to come down to individual circumstances. Realistically, you can't just say, oh, we're X hotel, we're just going to be on this.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at the demographics now, take TikTok for example. Everyone associates TikTok as being a younger person's platform. It isn't when you look at the demographics.
Okay.
Even people at the grand old age of my own age are using TikTok, and more people are using TikTok on a more regular basis. So realistically, to say that younger people are doing this, older people are doing that, it's not strictly true now when you start looking at the demographics. Yeah. So you've now got to find, well, what's the most effective way for me to get to the largest audience that wants to come and stay at my property? And that's an individual plan per property. It depends on the how you want to target them, who you're actually targeting, and then you can come up and it still has to be cross-channel. There can't just be one. Yeah, there's probably still going to be one or two channels that you put most of your money into, because that's where people are converting. You've got to make sure you protect that. At the moment, it's still Google search.
So it's almost like the socials can play a part in that dreaming bit. They may cross over a bit in the consideration, but then there may be some content element they could be doing that could be informing in and around that space, because ultimately when they move further down the funnel, they're going to have to land at some point at this moment until Google comes up with something, either on an OTA or to the hotel website, or they open up a number of hotel websites before making their final decision, then ultimately booking.
What we're seeing now, yes, that's largely
Yeah,
correct. The interesting thing is we don't know what Search Generative Experience SGE is actually going to do. We don't know how people are going to use it because we don't know what the end product is going to be, or at least the base product of it is truly going to be. We've got a good understanding from what it is now and what they're testing, but when that's unleashed on the world fully, there's still this component of how does Google monetize it effectively and don't lose their market share.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that OpenAI announced that they're actually building a search engine. They're not just they're not just going to be a large language model AI tool. They're going after Google.
On that, I really appreciate you outlining SGE, outlining what it is, but more importantly, kind of diving into some of the, and we know the hypothetical, as you say, it's still early days, it's still being shaped, but I think you can, as you said, we can see a direction of travel, and it's kind of one of these things where we probably shouldn't be waiting until it's finalized, and we should be starting to think now about how we can at least be starting to change the mindset and the way that we've approached things. Because back to your early point, you started off by saying websites haven't really evolved from being a digital brochure.
I do want to say one thing as well around sort of AI. I've seen a lot of conversations, a lot of articles going out there saying about what AI will be in the future. And largely what we've talked about today is what AI will be in the future.
Yeah.
I think it's also very important to note that AI is here and now, and it is used, and it's used in more ways than people really realize or are aware of the capabilities of it. Think of your everyday life, Netflix.
Yeah.
The algorithm that it uses to predict what films, movies, TV shows you're going to be interested in is using predictive analytics, which is basic form of AI. I'm sure it's probably investigating, if not already using, some level of AI on Netflix.
Yeah.
In terms of the hotel industry, there are a lot of tools out there already that can help, that are available. Shameless plug here. We've built a couple ourselves, and they're completely free on our website. So, for example, we've got one that we're calling Rate Mate, which is when revenue managers are actually creating the revenue plans and putting everything together. One of the areas that they often struggle with and can often get neglected is writing the marketing copy around that rate plan. Brilliant at the numbers, putting it all together, when, where, how, and all of that good stuff. But when it comes to writing it, we normally get one line of information and then 15 terms and conditions when you can't use it.
Yeah.
So we've created RateMate that uses AI. You put in a few tick boxes, very simple and easy to use, and it'll write you 40, 60, 80 words of marketing copy that you can then use across multiple channels. And that's free on our website right now, on the 3and6.agency website. The other one is review responses. We all know how leaving a review and the impact that reviews can have on a property. Well, we've developed another free tool. You copy in the review that you've been given about your property, click generate, and it will automatically generate a response. We've built it in such a way that it checks for the semantics of what's going on. What's the tone? Is this positive? Is this negative? We built in certain safeguards so it won't say things, like we will.
In the early days, like people are trying to trick them. Yeah.
I just say, well, in the early days when we did it, we gave it one review, and the AI said it would sack the person and punish them to the extent of the law. We're like, whoa, hold on, Eddie, whoa, let's back it. It's a free review tool, and it's not judge, jury, and executioner here. Steady on. So obviously, safeguards are a big thing for us, and I think there's too many AI tools that are out there that don't really understand what type of safeguards that should be put in place.
Yeah.
So obviously, we've got these tools, and the beauty as well of the review tool, we've called it Henry, is there's also a paid version which directly links into the likes of your TripAdvisor reviews, pulls them back, and automatically generates a response for you just by logging into the platform. So all you got to do is click copy, and away you go. So there are tools right here and now that use AI And whereas everybody's saying, oh, this is what it'll be used for in the future. No, it's used right now, and it can be. You've just got to know where to look.
And I guess that's the bit that we talk about when it's kind of exciting, because we're already getting value out of some of this, but then it's the scary, because it's like we always think it's in the future, but it's actually here now, and we're already using it without really being aware or consciously considering it. And so how does that creep in other areas, and where do we end up in a few years' time, because we hadn't really realized or hadn't consciously connected all the dots? But no, very interesting indeed, and definitely sets us up for some things to talk about in the future. So thanks again for your time today. It's been really appreciated.
No, thank you. Thanks for having us.
You take care. Well, I hope that conversation was of interest, and thanks again to Tris for joining us. If you have any thoughts or views on this conversation, please feel free to comment below. If you like the discussion, please don't forget a thumbs up. And if you're interested in more of our videos, here is a link to our Expert Insights playlist, and here is the link to our Coffee Time Chat playlist. And here is the button if you'd like to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks again for watching.